You're listening to Crushing Club Marketing, a podcast for progressive club leaders ready to increase their club's revenue. The time for change begins right now. The club renovation project has been approved and it's full speed ahead with enhancements that'll make your club competitive once again. But during construction, how do you keep the membership engaged and excited? And even more, how do you drive new membership when you can't show off your club? Kathy Padit and Megan Somerville of Pelican Isle Yacht Club set new member records after surviving not only their renovations, but Hurricane Irma as well. They share their secrets with me in this episode of Crushing Club Marketing. So Kathy and Megan, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, how are you for letting us be here?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. And before we jump into all the great work you two have done at Pelican Isle, our listeners will probably appreciate just some backdrop, maybe a little bit about Pelican Isle and what led you to the renovations, what led the club to this point, and maybe just a little context so that people can better understand what was happening.
Well, yes, we are located in North Naples in Florida on the West Coast. We're a yacht club and marina. We have 190 boat slips and basically a full club that offers pretty much everything from bocce ball to dining to water fitness classes, personal training, a little bit of everything here.
Awesome. And I'm sorry, what year did and just so our listeners know, that was Kathy who was speaking, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I can't see your face.
Just over.
What's that?
Sorry. We are just over 20 years old. We're celebrating our 23rd year this month, actually. So a relatively young club. I mean, I guess you compare to some historic clubs in the country. I'm assuming it was the original building that, and maybe if you can give us some context, like what was happening as far as renovations, what was needed, and what's been going on that led to the renovations? Yeah, so we have, with the aging of a club, basically, it was a beautiful nautical facility, but we had decided that it needed a little bit of a facelift. So we had been working over the years to do a few different proposals for renovations, and our $4.8 million renovation was approved last year, and construction began in April for that renovation. And it was really to focus on our dining spaces and private meeting spaces, as well as adding things like fire pits and those bocce courts that I mentioned a little earlier.
Yeah. One of the things that, as we talk more, and that I was so impressed in some of our pre-production discussions, is really around transparency and how open and how well you communicated with your membership, which is really, by the way, the focus of our conversation today. But for you, it started early. I mean, even, a year in advance, which, I would imagine that's somewhat typical, although the amount of information that's shared in advance probably varies club to club. How did you approach that year leading up to, the beginning of work as far as communication? Did you have like a philosophy that you try to adhere to, around that?
We have a relatively small membership. We, at the time, were around 315 members, and it's a very close-knit community, and we very much appreciate our good relationships that we all have, not only as a team with our members, but they all have with each other. So from the top down, the board and the general manager on down, we wanted to be sharing as much as we could, let them know what was happening. And also knowing that we were going to be closing the club at the end of March, which is still the tail end of our high season, in order to, at the time, be reopened in time for the following season. We were going to have to be closing before a lot of them were going to be leaving for the summer, the ones that do travel. So leading up to that, we wanted to be communicating with them, as far as even 6 months out. We're doing everything we can to be here for you and support you. Once the club actually closes, we will still be here. We reached out for early summer reciprocity with our neighboring clubs, many of whom were incredibly generous, and when we were so grateful for that. to be able to have places for our members to still be able to go and have dinner or go to happy hour together. We sent out a member travel plan survey very early on to find out, okay, we know that the club is closing March 30th. Many of you will still be here. What exactly are your travel plans? How many of you will be here over the summer? And what are some things that you'd like to do to still be able to see each other and have fun and mingle while we're waiting for our brand new beautiful club to reopen?
Yeah. It sounds like you have a pretty solid community, and the culture sounds really strong there. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the camaraderie here is unbelievable. That's what makes it so special.
I was going to say, and it's such an important part and element in doing projects like this, right? I mean, it's like, if you've got and I've had some conversations with general managers where they're concerned that the membership isn't cohesive enough to be able to endure, taking something like an assessment to the membership to say, hey, this is good for the club because some members are more invested than others and things like that. But you've been fortunate, or we can talk more about that later maybe and get into some of the things that have helped to build that culture. But I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit more about your approach within the communication. You said something really interesting in a previous discussion that we had about your members and their connection with the club, and you did such a great job in keeping them up to speed with everything. But one of the things that you said that really struck me is how much your members would miss each other during the shutdown. And as a club member, I can tell you, I mean, you can have all the amenities and things like that, but it really is about the relationships that you build with the people at the club. Knowing that your members were that close, how did that impact your approach to membership, member engagement, and the communication that followed?
The one thing I did want to add to that is they also said that they would miss the staff, which was so sweet.
Yeah.
So that was something when we incorporated some of these programs that Megan's going to talk about and some of the ways that we managed our communications, is they also wanted to see the staff. So they wanted to make sure that when they left, they weren't leaving the staff behind, and we'd have, all new faces upon reopening because we were shutting down for so many months. So that was a really unique component that went into the planning too, is not only what would these events be, but who's going to be attending them and hosting them with the members. Yeah,
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because as I have conversations as well, I mean, I always think, boy, whether it's outside services or dining room staff, I mean, they become in many ways an extension of your family, as a member too. So I'm so glad you added that. So given all that and the really, focusing on relationships and the value of those relationships, how did that impact your approach?
Well, we wanted to offer a variety of things that the members could do together for the ones that were here throughout that period, and also incorporating, having staff members go and actually greet them at those different events and activities, and being able to share, pictures of those activities with the ones that weren't here via Facebook, via our website. Being able to continue that connection, whether it's, members getting together for a happy hour down the road, or for the ones that are up north, they'll still being able to see the pictures of their friends all getting together for the main thing that they really love is their Wednesday night happy hours. It's a kind of a standing day that members like to just get together. They know that people will come up to the club and they'll see everybody. So we knew when we were going to be closing at the end of March, in addition to a number of other, just going kayaking or going to the movies or shopping or doing different tours, one of the things we knew we had to do was find a way to have that Wednesday happy hour consistent throughout the summer and give them that opportunity just to get together, see each other, see some familiar faces from the staff. And that was one of the most successful programs, just in its simplicity, and being able to then communicate that for the staff members who were actually there at those happy hours, being able to tell them, hey, we're seeing all this firsthand. It's all exciting. And while we were still in that process, being able to share all the updates about the renovation itself as it was happening.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting.
Can we just talk a little bit? I want to just dive in a little bit more into one of the things that you said that might go over some. I don't think it went over anyone's head, but you said it in passing, which is social media and posting pictures. How active is Pelican Isle in general in social media, and what channels do you use the most?
Yeah, so that's something that I manage. Basically, our social media is mostly through, we have a public Facebook page. We have a private members only Facebook page where I have a professional profile that I'm friends with them on. We also have Facebook Places page. We have a Twitter account, and we have Instagram. So those are the ones outside of our wonderful website that Megan maintains, and she'll be telling you a little bit about the intense communications that went into that, because a lot of our members, are not, they're adding more profiles to their own use of social media, but some of them like the old fashioned, websites where they can go and look up the information. So I know that Megan wanted to talk a little bit about how we handled that in advance of the project, and also surveying the members to make sure that they knew all the ways that we would communicate with them, because we were not seeing them as often in person.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, hey, Megan, let's talk a little bit about that, because what's interesting about social media in general and the use of it, and understanding, of course, that not every club uses social media, and it's, for some clubs, it just doesn't fit them. And yet we all know this as people who use social media, that one of the things, like it or not, is that it creates a longing of other. It shows like, oh my gosh, look at Kathy's, in the Grand Cayman. Oh my gosh, Kathy's got this great life, and oh, look what Megan's doing. And by creating those, capturing those moments and sharing them in social media, you guys were able to really create a connection, even with people who weren't there every day. Maybe even create a longing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and we do that throughout the year. That's definitely part of my marketing strategy to engage and retain our members, is whether they're here or not, because we do have so many seasonal snowbirds, as we call them, is to make sure that they know not only the fun that they're missing, but that when they do come down, we're going to continue to expand the programs and offerings, and they already feel a little bit included in that. It's not something that they're just hearing about, so they can look forward to the kayak trips or the social cruises on our Pelican, which is our beach shuttle, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, interesting. So what were some of the things, if we could just, share with people who, are maybe considering going through or are about to start a renovation? And that's one of the questions a lot of people have, is how do we keep people in the loop with what's going on? What's the best way? And maybe if you're able to share some of the things that you did, Megan, that were really, really impactful or helpful, or what you think were critical elements, what would those be?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed. When we first got started, we wanted to, before the vote at least, have all of the information available for members on our private side of our website for them to be able to access at their convenience if they wanted to look at the renderings or see what the proposal was prior to the vote. If they wanted a printable copy, again, maybe they lost their copy or it's available anytime. And that section of the website turned from one page of just past communications about the vote coming up to an entire, what we called a micro site within our website, and an entire section dedicated to the renovation. So as we were approaching closing, that section housed all of the prior communication links. It housed the renderings of the different rooms. It housed a countdown clock to groundbreaking. That was really fun.
Oh, cool.
And then it evolved into having, okay, well, what services are we going to have available for the members over the summer? What are we going to be offering? What are we going to be able to do? And giving them a place to share feedback. There was a link to that member travel plan survey that I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And then once the renovation got started, it also became an archive of weekly photo and video updates to the members for those that, aren't as keen on social media. They want, the secure website that they can visit. And it became an archive of every week we'd upload a new photo album of the pictures of the progress, the offsite activities of members getting together, doing video interviews with various staff members. Kathy became a little news anchor for the summer, and she would interview the superintendent of the project in different rooms while the construction was going on. And then that evolved into having, our chef and Kathy and the superintendent in the kitchen looking at the kitchen progress, having our facilities manager out looking out at the pool landscaping area with Kathy, having our general manager reporting on the progress. And it was a great way for us all to just share that personal connection that you just can't get by email. Video is it's so special and so powerful. And we were able to store those on the website so that if someone, missed a weekly video on Facebook, they could go back and see, wow, look at everything that's been done. Look at all the fun they're having while it's still under renovation. It became a really great resource for members to circle back to. And then as we were reopening, it started being used for, okay, what's the plan for reopening? What are our hours going to be? Being able to share with them, please bear with us while we get our bearings and get everything set up for you. And it gave us the platform to be able to give all of the information to the members when they wanted it.
Wow, lots of stuff there, Megan. I'd love to just sort of, touch on a couple things to help our listeners better understand some of the things if they're not up to speed. I mean, you guys did a tremendous amount of communication and dynamic communication too, like you said, that goes way beyond email. Let's start. I want to back up way to something you said that you said it in a way that is just what you did, but a lot of people may not know what a microsite is. So we'll get questions sometimes from clients who will say, what's the best way for us to communicate through, through this process? We're big bloggers at Storyteller. We're big fans of blogging. And microsites in many ways are like that. But I guess two things. How did you come about with the idea of a microsite? Like, who suggested that? And then what kind of maintenance and, it sounds like the purpose was to keep people updated, but how much did you have to maintain that? A lot of times people are concerned about the amount of work. So where did the idea come from and how much maintenance was it?
It was a lot of maintenance, not going to lie.
Yeah.
So like I said, it started as one page on the website, and we started adding, like on a regular website, like currently we have, our food and beverage page, our marina page, our activities, ongoing health and wellness pages. So we created a page that was just called 2020 Renewal Project Updates, and it started with one tab. And then as we started adding more content, we wanted to make it organized, efficient, easy for members to read and follow. And actually our website service provider is Members First. We have a wonderful working relationship with them. And it was my primary service provider that I email for all of my various questions or things that I can't do myself. And she said, wow, you're creating a little microsite just for this whole project. And I just fell in love with that term.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so it became a little website within the website.
A nickname.
Dedicated to the entire renovation.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a great destination for members as well as as well as for staff to be able to share stuff. And you talked about, we're just talking about the relationships. And what I love about that also is that you are creating a way for the staff to communicate and continue to build those relationships with members who maybe had gone north for the summer and things like that. Did you get a lot of good, what was your feedback like from members as they were getting some of that communication and your star anchor, Kathy Petit?
Well, yeah, I will speak to that one. It was really exciting because if they would pop down for the summer, they were like, we feel so much a part of this project. We feel like we're here with you, going through all the ups and downs, because believe me, we didn't just focus on all the great things that are coming. We were very transparent, is the word you used, about challenges. The weather is always a component in Florida, in the summertime especially. So, staying on our timeline. And that's where the superintendent, he was the one that if we were getting ready to redo our pool pavers, we would like lift up the pavers. Or when we had our bocce courts getting near completion, we put the bocce ball set out there and pretended we were going to be playing bocce in our video. So
awesome.
Even though the courts weren't totally done. So it was that visualizing what's coming, but also kind of like, oh, we've had a ton of rain, so we're a little bit, we don't want the courts to be washing out because they're like a hydrogrid surface. So kind of going through all of that, through the summertime. And then, of course, we had Hurricane Irma that summer as well, which was something that we couldn't put on our plan of action,
yeah,
but that we had to deal with.
Yeah, I want to come back and talk about that more after our break here in a minute, but because that was a completely new set of challenges that you guys had to endure there. But we talk a lot of we talk quite a bit here about storytelling. We talk quite a bit about creating information that people can take in, whether it is a blog or an article in the newsletter or a video, and creating something that puts the reader, the viewer into that piece, right? And you guys did such a great job of that by, I love the idea of pretending to play bocce ball where there are no bocce courts or where they're not done yet, just so people can see that and say, oh, wow, that's where they're going to go. And that's, I can imagine what that's going to look like. Is that just something that for you guys just like came naturally? I mean, it's like you just thought, hey, of course we're going to do it this way. Because a lot of clubs might write a description about it and put it in a newsletter.
Well, for me, I'm very visual. I love photography as one of my own personal hobbies. But so I like to see what's happening. And I think that, if we were tearing down walls or taking down roofs or really kind of tearing the facility apart, we captured that so we could then stand there when it was cleaned up and then say, and this is where we're going to have the extended dining, or this is what used to be your outside patio that is now under air and covered so that we can have more bar seating for our popular Wednesday night happy hours that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, just the bocce was something new that we didn't have in the past. We also added in fire pits. So we wanted to also kind of, get them very excited, but also let them know where their investment was going with what additional amenities will be offered and programs will be able to be used by themselves and their families upon completion.
Yeah. How did you determine what information you shared with the public, through some of your social channels and or your website? And how did you determine what to keep just inside your membership?
Most of what we shared was meant for our members. The primary goal of all of that was for updating our members. And then we had, essentially a press release that we put out before the renovation that we put on the public side of the website. We let them know on the public side that we could still do tours of the marina for prospective members interested in a boat slip. We could have them come into essentially the front lobby of the club and they'd be able to still meet with Kathy, but they could see, the club is clearly under construction. There's a giant "do not cross this line" fence. And what we did actually was really neat was put up posters of the renderings right in that front entranceway. So if someone did come in for a tour, they could see that and then be ushered into Kathy's office where they could still meet with her.
Yeah. So
a tour of the marina.
In our brochure at the time, of course, were the existing photos. So again, kind of seeing this is what it was. It was lovely and beautiful, but this is how much more spectacular it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like showing them the before and after, even though the after wasn't yet done. And then we also utilized our public page by putting like banners across the page saying that we're under renovation. We had a price increase coming upon reopening. So for me in sales, I was doing more the countdown to the price increase, where Megan was working with me as well to do the countdown to reopening. So it was a lot at once that kind of kept the excitement going. And I think our sales we broke records. The January when we opened and reopened, we had 33 membership sales in 1 month. That was more than one a day. And those were all people that we were working with over the last few years, but also over the 10 months of closure.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a busy time.
Just for context, how does that 33 members in a month, how does that compare? Like if you were to look back year over year, how would that compare? The same.
Usually two or three members a month is a good sales period, because again, we're a little bit different than golf clubs. We are yacht clubs. So we have the component of boat slips instead of a golf course, which is optional. So we have equity social members and we have equity yacht members, and we also lease slips out. So it was, a very, January is a busy month for us because it is the height of season. But it was really, everyone was just waiting to see what the club turned out like and then get in before the February 1st increase. So we gave it about a 2-week period of being open so they could actually come back and see it before writing us a check.
How much do you think you benefited from the enthusiasm that you were able to generate within your membership? How much of that do you think spilled over into their friends and their acquaintances and their contacts that helped drive so many new members?
Absolutely. Well, whether you're doing a renovation or not, across the board, industry-wide, the number one source of new members is your existing members with referrals.
No question.
So we have always enjoyed a great membership referral basis where our members, we don't do incentives. We don't say, if you refer a member, you'll get this certain prize or a monetary reward. They refer their friends and their neighbors and their colleagues to join the club because they love it so much.
Yeah.
So we knew going into the renovation, we're going to be closed for 10 months. We're communicating with them all of the progress that's being made and how building up the excitement for reopening. And at the same time, they were all fully aware, and it was actually part of the plan with it as well, was that once we reopened, the original plan was to reopen in November. We ended up reopening January 13th. And the plan was to have the initiation fee increase effective February 1st. Okay. So throughout the summer, we were reminding our members, as they're getting so excited to come back for season and get to enjoy their beautiful new club, if they have any friends or family, now is the best time to refer them before the initiation fee goes up. Yeah. And many of them took advantage of that and let their friends know sincerely and honestly, this is going to be so great. You're going to love it. And the initiation fee is going up, so you might want to get on this pretty soon.
Right. That's terrific. Hey, let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's dive into Hurricane Irma and some of the challenges that presented, and also how you handled that countdown to completion. Let's talk a little bit more about that as well.
Looking for a crash course on everything you need to know to market your club online? We've created a 30-page essential guide to digital marketing for private clubs that you don't want to miss. From optimizing your website and developing relevant content to engaging your audience through social media, this comprehensive guide will lead you through every essential step you want to be taking to effectively market your club online. Download it now at storytellermn.com/guide.
A renovation project is significant and is going to have delays in it typically anyway. And then Hurricane Irma hits right when you are in the midst of all this. Can you just, what was that like, first of all, when you knew the hurricane was coming and you knew this was going on? What was how would you describe the reaction to that? I mean, it's drastic.
Yeah, I would say terrifying. But it was really scary because we have, hurricanes in this area all the time. But basically with Irma, it wasn't supposed to come to our coast. So it was supposed to go to the East Coast. And then it did, as many hurricanes can do. It did a little bit of a change of plan on us. So we had a direct hit. We're in Naples, Florida, as I had mentioned earlier. And the eye literally went right over our county and this whole area of Southwest Florida. So the club was kind of, opened up, and we were worried about that because we thought the wind could come in and kind of take the roof off. But luckily the winds went through the renovation. It's ironic, we had just had our hurricanes delivered. The new windows for the hurricane windows were delivered on Tuesday, and the storm came by that Saturday, Sunday. This area did lose power. So again, what was our number one source of communications over this renovation was being able to send out e-blasts, being able to update our website. Well, here in Southwest Florida, we didn't have power for a week or so. We had employees that, the area was had debris all over. We had flooding. So the biggest thing, I think, is that a lot of our members are not here that time of year, but they were not only terrified for their own properties, but they were very concerned about their fellow members, the staff, and our safety. Here in our own property, we only had one boat slip and boat that were damaged. The club was really unscathed. We had some flooding, some, water down in what we have as a service basement area, where we had some damage and things like that. But the actual renovation was not really affected by damage, but it was affected by timeline.
Yeah, and you think about that, and there were a lot of there's a lot of repercussions after the storm, but you think about how much worse it could have been to get away with flooding in the basement level in a boat in a slip for what was a major hurricane is really pretty remarkable. So I mean, hey, you guys were lucky, and then to be able to move forward and just be delayed a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the countdown, and so it delayed it. But I've got to believe that most people were pretty understanding of the delay in opening in this case, right?
Yes, it definitely, yep.
Yeah, and so they were, and those videos were a huge help in that. We really wanted to get out front ahead of it immediately, let members know what was going on, tell them truthfully what the challenges were. Hey, we're delayed because we can't get plywood here. We're delayed because every roofer in the state is on emergency duties right now.
Yeah.
So those videos and just getting ahead of it was really helpful. The members, they felt like they were fully disclosed what was happening. And we were still hoping at that time to be able to reopen for Thanksgiving. That clearly became that wasn't going to happen. We still hoped we were going to have our New Year's Eve festivities. Suddenly we're making alternate off-site plans for New Year's Eve.
Right.
So that was probably a frustrating time for the members, but they were so gracious and supportive, and they were appreciative of all of our work to still offer them those holiday events in whatever way we could until we were able to actually get to reopening.
And I think one of the things is our reciprocal partners, again, came to the rescue. They extended their reciprocals. So some of them came in and let us do early reciprocation. We then had the other side of it. Our reciprocals usually end October 31st, and they extended it again. So our members that were coming back now, because a lot of our members start coming back October 1st. So we were able to kind of, again, either allow them to dine on their own at other clubs or in groups. Megan worked with the food and beverage team to keep offering those off-site activities, which was really key because now the members are coming back and their club's not ready yet. Yeah. And they did understand, but they also had crises to deal with about their properties and all of these kind of things that they needed each other too.
Natural disasters have this incredible way of bringing people together though, don't they? I mean, it's like the way that people come together to try to help one another is really pretty inspiring and amazing.
We had a member that you just reminded me that was very active in the rescue and recovery of an area that got very hard hit in this area. And he took his own little dinghy boat down and was rescuing some of the people that had water up to their chest.
Yeah.
And he became, he was on CNN and everything. It was really amazing, but he just wanted to help get anything they could from their flooded homes and get them to safety. So we also shared those kind of stories on our social media and our website to give recognition of how our members that were here were also really giving back to the community.
And those are stories that combine people in so many ways, which is amazing. I got to believe that, so many of your members, while the timeline was pushed back, I've got to believe that I would be shocked if there were very many members, if at all, who were really frustrated that the timeline was pushed back as far as it was, because you still, to recover in and open when you did, given all that is nothing short of.
Yeah, we could have been building a whole nother new club again if it would have been, damaged. So they were just thankful and patient with us and very supportive.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the end results after the renovations were completed. You had the growth of the 33 new members that joined in January of this year. Total number of member households also increased for you guys quite a bit as well.
Yeah. So basically, we're right now at 375 in our membership. And, it was quite an increase. On February 1st, we had the 331, which was including, those 33 we talked about. But it's continued to help the sales because some of the prospects that, even over the last 5 years that I've been working with are just now getting down here. They're getting closer to retirement. They loved the club before, so this is kind of a no-brainer for them now.
Yeah. Let me just a final question regarding not just only the renovation, but really Pelican Isle. Every club, just like every organization, has got the things that, boy, I wish we didn't do this or have this. And, we all have our warts, as I like to say. And yet at the same time, the community that seems to exist there, and just in a couple conversations with you both that I've been able to pull from, and then listening to the stories around the hurricane, there is a really, really strong community, it sounds like, that has been built there. You have got exceptional communication. I mean, there's like, when I listen to you and all the stuff you've done and how you've approached it, do you realize that that's not typical?
Yeah, I consider us over communicators.
Yeah.
Better to over communicate than under.
There's no question. Yeah, I mean, that's really remarkable. So I changed my mind. I have one last question. What advice would you give to whether they're people in your shoes and membership and membership sales and marketing for other clubs who are concerned about going into a renovation project and engaging their members, and also potentially, wanting to grow their membership base? While that may not have been a big concern for you in the end, what advice would you give to people?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I'd say is to ask your members what they want to see during that time. For us, it was being able to have those off-site activities for them to still see each other and feel that engagement. And the main thing for us, especially through the hiccups and challenges we had, was the transparency. Just being able to honestly, candidly tell them what's going on at their club, because they care so much about it. It is a very close-knit community, and we wanted them to feel like they knew what was happening as it was happening. Just being able to share all that with them, and that builds their trust in us, their faith in us, that we're doing everything that we can in their best interest for their club. That's
terrific. Well, Kathy Petit and Megan Somerville, thanks so much for spending time with me this morning and with our listeners.
Thank you, Ed. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
And thank you for listening. In our next episode, we're going to get inside your head when we talk to Mishak Weber, an expert in behavior design. His agency, Firebrand, focuses on not just driving eyeballs, but tapping into the mind and understanding how to get inside the minds of your top prospects, in this case, your prospective members. It's going to be a heady talk that'll help you sharpen your club's story and drive new members.